Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Simply Nerdy. This is Anthony starting us off today. And we wanted to do a little something different. We've been trying to think of ways to provide more content to our listeners. And the channel that we've got going is primarily dedicated to news, predictions, things we're excited about and stuff like that. But we also have quite a few opinions specifically about specific games that we're thinking that we could provide our thoughts on in kind of a sub-series, which we are hereby calling Thoughts of an Opinionated Nerd. Because we've got plenty of opinions, and so we thought it would be a fun way to kind of provide more content and also show you how passionate and opinionated we are on all these subjects.
And so to start off, we wanted to start with one of Anthony's big controversial games at the moment.
Yeah.
Being that of Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
We are die-hard Kingdom Hearts fans since the first game. I think Anthony followed the series more closely than I could because I didn't have all of the systems that they came out on. They came out on so many different systems over the years, it's hard to get all of them. But I followed at least the main two, Chain of Memories, and
Then 3.
3, I believe.
I think I tried to have you play Birth by Sleep once upon a time when we were at the camp. Mm-hmm. I let you borrow that, and you didn't get.
I didn't get too far.
Didn't get too
but
far.
I loved
it. Yeah, I am a long-time series fan. Kingdom Hearts for me has been a system seller ever since it came out. So I remember when they first announced the concept of Kingdom Hearts. This shows you how old I am. Yes, I am dating myself here. But I was pretty young when it was being announced, and I remember just kind of at first being like, what is this concept? Final Fantasy crossed with Disney? That seems a little strange, but I was intrigued, and I remember spending a whole lot of time on the official website and just kind of ogling everything and getting excited about the idea. So we got it. I think it was a day one purchase, and I was just completely sold. I remember being loving the combat system, the way that it was an evolution of the traditional like menu selection gameplay style that is so common to RPGs, but then also combining it with action RPG stuff, and I just thought it was a really fun evolution of that. So I really loved it, and the long story short, I've been a fan ever since. And I've loved how the series has already kind of, since then has really built on that formula and improved it in a lot of ways.
And complicated the story a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
It's a convoluted mess.
We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, so we're telling you all that just as a backdrop to show you that we are true super fans, especially myself. Like I said, Kingdom Hearts has been a system seller for me, and for at least the mainline entries, and when I say mainline entries, I'm not saying just 1, 2, and 3. I mean also Birth by Sleep, 358 over 2 days, all that. Mm-hmm. If I didn't have the system for it, once I found out that it was going to be on that system, I would buy it, so that I could play it. So that's actually what happened with Kingdom Hearts 3 as well. I did not have a PS4. As soon as it started, getting to the point where it was coming out, I bought a PS4. That's how excited I was for it. So now that you've got all that backdrop, and you probably you're already suspecting the direction I'm going to go with this, I am going to make this opinionated declaration, and I will first of all make this qualifier. This is my opinion. It is very, very opinionated.
Thoughts of an opinionated nerd.
That's why we're calling it that. And so if you disagree, you can tell us why in the comments, and understand that I am not attacking people who like the Kingdom Hearts 3 or anything like that. Everyone has the rights to their own opinion, and that's what I'm asserting here for myself.
Yes.
So I was wildly disappointed with Kingdom Hearts 3, and maybe part of my problem is that I kind of maybe overhyped it a bit. I mean, we've been waiting 13 years since Kingdom Hearts 2 for this game to come out. And yeah, we've had stuff in between. Some of the best Kingdom Hearts games in the series came out in between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. But a lot of it was kind of stepping back in terms of the story, and we really wanted to see what was going to happen. And so obviously this has been a long time coming. So maybe I hyped it. I didn't think
there may
I had.
be some spoilers coming in.
Oh,
so if you haven't watched it already, spoiler.
That is an important. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Understand that with these episodes, these Thoughts of an Opinionated Nerd thing, we are going to be going into the nitty-gritty details, including spoilers, of why we thought the things we did. So, if you have not played Kingdom Hearts 3 and you don't want it spoiled for you, stop now, go play it. Come back once you've finished and got your thoughts, and then you can listen on and see if you agree with what we say. But for those of you who have already finished or don't care, keep listening. Anyway, so the biggest reason for me why Kingdom Hearts 3 was such a major, incredible disappointment is because it had, first of all, so much potential. It was the conclusion to a series that, while convoluted, had enough substance in there to still have some really genuinely interesting twists and turns. Sorry, just so you know, you're hearing my son in the background. Hopefully he doesn't get too crazy, but we're just gonna have to allow him to go. Otherwise, we're never gonna be able to make these recordings. So,
That's true.
so I'm sorry, but just so you know. Anyway, okay. So for me, it was the story, and again, like I was expecting a showdown, something that just kind of really tied together everything that we've built so far over the 17 years that this series has existed. I've been with it the whole time, and I'm definitely very invested. I'm not going to lie. The story is incredibly convoluted, and for those of you who look at it and be like, that was the thing that was important to you, you probably shouldn't have started playing the series in the first place, I say, well, I disagree, and I get to have my own opinion here, and I really enjoyed it, and so here's my beef when it comes to the story. We have waited a very long time for this to start, and then what happens is you're put into the game. You start off with what appears to be a solid, if maybe slow start, pretty typical for JRPG inspired games. And in this case, we're sent to go find the power of waking. So here I am expecting, like, okay, this is going to be like the starting quest. We're going to go find the power of waking, and then we're going to go about the rest of this game, tying up the story in the ways that we care for. So we go to Olympus, and I remember that world actually still, when I was still hopeful and really feeling really excited and positive about this game, I actually kind of enjoyed that world. And it also helped that I was playing on critical mode. So for those of you who are wondering, well, if you bought the system for Kingdom Hearts 3, why did you wait till critical? I ended up letting my sister borrow it first, and by the time she was done and getting it back, they were saying that critical mode was about to be released, so I just decided to wait for that because I'd heard that it was disappointingly easy, which would definitely have bothered me. So I waited till critical mode came out. And the funny thing is they definitely did not know how to go from painstakingly easy to something a little bit more balanced, because starting off in critical mode, like I had just beaten Dark Souls, which was a challenging game, a fair game, definitely challenging, and so I was coming away from an experience that had been very, very tough, and then I came in and I was like, wow, this is starting. I didn't expect Kingdom Hearts 3 to start off feeling maybe a little bit harder than Dark Souls. Don't laugh at me. That, like, as you go further in the game, especially once you get the cure spell, that goes away. Suddenly it's easy again. But, I just remember being like, wow, this is super challenging. Maybe a little bit too much. But I'm liking that this, I'm playing an actually challenging Kingdom Hearts game. Like, most of the time they don't offer that type of challenge. So I played through that world, got to the end, and for a while, to be honest, like for a while I was thinking, well, maybe this is too much. I started a file on Proud and then realized, wow, this is super boring. It's way too easy. So I went back to critical mode, and I went and I fought the Titans, and I just remember thinking that was the most fun I have ever had fighting a Kingdom Hearts boss ever. Because I fought the same boss on Proud mode when I was thinking that's what I wanted to do, and it was super boring. It's really straightforward. You just run up the thing, punch them in the face a few times, get hit back, and then go right back into the fray. But in critical mode, like, if you got hit, you were dead. Like, it was just, I mean, that's how big of a difference it was. And so you had to play very carefully. And I just, like, the skill required for that battle was so much fun that I was just practically laughing my head off with glee and thinking as I played, if this is how Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be this whole time, then this is going to be a wonderful game. So that was my starting thoughts. Once I went into it and I stuck with critical mode, and that's what I beat the game on. But then after that, like, and maybe again part of it was the problem with the story from there, but like after that it just, you find out that there's not really anything valuable that you're doing throughout the game. Like, I thought that I was going to find the power of waking and then go do the really important stuff. But instead, you find out, and the game doesn't tell you this, it leads you along by the nose until you just start to realize there's not enough game left for them to resolve the things I thought they were going to resolve. And I remember getting to, I was in the middle of Caribbean world, and I hated that world so much. I despised it. It was the worst. I mean, it was a perfect case in terrible world design. It was grand in scope and it was beautiful, but there were just so many problems with it. The swimming areas were terrible. Jack freaking was a big pile of white crabs. What the heck did you pull that out of from your butt? I don't know. Like, what kind of story twist is that? Like,
I don't know.
I mean, that was like,
Jack is like a whole, like a calypso himself.
Right, and then the boat is also crabs, and like that doesn't become clear till the end. You're just riding around the world like, oh, my boat is leveled up by crabs. Oh, because it is crabs. Interesting.
It is crabs.
Anyway, so it was a horrible premise, and it was a world we'd already done, and we were going back for no other reason than the spectacle of it. I swear, the only reason that level was in there was so that they could have the boat sailing sections and make it look like it was some sort of really cool, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey inspired world with like deep ship combat and all that, and it turned out that it was just a giant, massive disappointment. But anyway, it was kind of by the point that I got to that world and was hating it with a fiery passion and thinking, wow, like, I'm pretty sure this is like the second to last world, and nothing has happened. Nothing. I have gone, it's been, this game so far, what I was thinking is this game so far has been Sora's freaking idiotic adventures in Disneyland.
Yeah.
And that's all he did the whole time. And so I'm sitting here thinking,
to the very, very, very last world.
Yeah, I was thinking, it's got to get to a point where eventually, like, maybe you just have to, maybe it's kind of like Kingdom Hearts 2. You eventually start going back through the worlds, and that's when the stuff really starts happening. I don't know, but I started to realize, no, I don't think it will. And I was already like feeling super dissatisfied, then to really find out that really was the entire game. Like, Kingdom Hearts 3 was Square Enix saying, we don't have any more story that we want to write, but we have to make a game with enough story to close the series. We have to make Kingdom Hearts 3, and we don't want to make any more story, so we're going to fill it with padding so it will be a game long enough for people to care to purchase. But so like you spend. I feel like
that's exactly how I felt when I played the game.
The whole time.
The whole time. I didn't feel like I got all the answers I wanted necessarily out of it either.
No.
I feel like there was more questions that I wanted to have answered.
Absolutely. Like, there's okay, and we'll get to that. But that's the thing that was incredibly disappointing to me is I spent 30 hours going through this game and finding out that it was all so that I could go, through Sora's adventures. Misadventures is a better term for it. And by the way, they made Sora an idiot in this game. Like, I know Sora is kind of he's been established as kind of the ditzy character the whole time throughout the whole series, but like he was downright asinine in this game a number of times.
True too. Yeah,
like it drove me nuts. And I remember actually, like the funny thing too is, so the Data Sora in Recoded, like that game has a terrible story too. It's got some of the best gameplay in the series. The story itself is completely throwaway, but I remember thinking that this Sora, the Data Sora, the fake one, actually showed some surprising amount of intelligence that I was sitting there thinking, wow, I already like Data Sora better than normal Sora. It's just, anyway, get off that high horse. So he was an idiot. And then you get to the end, you complete all these worlds, you find out you really haven't done anything. Like, it doesn't even have the scope of the original game. The original game probably had one of the more pointless stories as well. But at least you knew that what you were doing was saving these worlds from the Heartless. But, like, in this case, it felt more like... I mean, because in the original game, you'd lock the world and then the Heartless couldn't eat the heart of the world anymore. But I felt like in this one, it was more like you're just going to these random worlds, beating up the Heartless rather than actually saving the world from them. And then saying, peace out, guys. I gotta go find out how to wake up my friends. Forgotten how.
Forgotten how.
And so in the end...
Okay, maybe I'm out of the loop because I didn't play all the games. So did they even show that even happening?
Waking up the friends? What part?
The part where, at the very beginning when they're like... You almost lost yourself to the darkness.
Oh,
blah, blah, blah,
yeah, that was in
then
Dream Drop Distance.
Then you lost all your memories. I was like, what?
That was in Dream Drop Distance. That was the one that you couldn't get into, which it's one of the better games in the series.
Okay.
So you should give it another try. I can let you borrow it. Just as a plug here, I honestly think that the best evolution of the Kingdom Hearts battle system is the command deck system, and we're going to get into that because that's another one of my complaints with Kingdom Hearts 3. You can probably guess where I'm going with that. The command deck was a perfect evolution of the original revolutionary ideas of the first game, and they tossed it out for Kingdom Hearts 3. So they did, and I'm going to get into that again. They did. But we're still bragging on the story for the moment. So So anyway, we get through all these worlds, and by this point you've realized, wow, my adventure has been completely pointless. And then they get to the point where, okay, well, Riku and Mickey are getting their butts handed to them because Riku is a Keyblade master and so is Mickey, but they can't even handle a tower of Heartless. And plus, it shows them they're supposed to be exploring the world of darkness looking for Aqua, right? But they're always on that same shore.
It's so true.
We're just spending all our time right here. Hopefully she'll show up eventually. But anyway, I presume they were expecting us to use our imaginations to assume that they were on other shores. But I mean, it was reused assets, so it's kind of hard to suspend the disbelief. Especially when the story to this point has been so throwaway and so little effort put into it. But anyway, you get through all the worlds. And then we find out, Sora somehow gets the sense, wow, Ricky and Miku, Mickey and Riku are in trouble, and I need to go save them. And everyone's like, well, no, because you still don't have the power of waking, and it's dangerous for you to go to the realm of darkness when you're doing that. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, yeah, maybe it would have been great if we'd gotten the power of waking from the very start, and then the whole game could have been spent in the realm of darkness, where there's a lot more story to develop down there, a lot of cool unexplored areas that we could really go into. But instead we go through a bunch of rehashed worlds and some new ones with, some completely throwaway repeats of their original stories, without any actual new content to really throw in to any great degree. And then it turns out that Sora doesn't actually need the power of waking to go and be safe in the realm of darkness. And so you're just like, wait a minute. All he had to do was be impetuous and just be like, I'm going to do it anyway. See ya, peace out. And then and then he could go and save Aqua from the very start. Like, you mean to tell me that you literally effectively just said, yeah, so that really
just did was pointless.
It really was all filler. We were just making it so that this would be a game. But yeah, so
we enjoyed the spectacle.
you definitely you could have come here right from the very start. So, Sora comes in, non-Keyblade master and all, no power of waking, and he, kicks Aqua's butt. And then they save her. And so that part was kind of cool. Like, I was getting a little excited again, like, okay, maybe things are going to start happening. And here I was still hoping, like, okay, yeah, we've gone through pretty much all the worlds by this point. There's really not much more to do, but maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe there's some sort of twist, and we'll end up finding out that we're going to go explore the realm of darkness again and do some interesting stuff like that. But no, it just turns out that Aqua's like, oh, I'm saved. Let's go get Ventus. And so they go back, and that part was also I was still feeling kind of excited because I'm like, okay, things might be starting to happen.
Yep, that's when I got excited too. I was like, oh, here's where the game starts.
Yeah, after 30 hours, so I'm just like, okay, well, this game I'll probably never play it again because I can't get through that starting 30 hours again. But but maybe this will still make it worth it in the end. So we go to Castle Oblivion, which she turns back into the land of departure. And, she wakes up Ventus, and, like, the first thing that makes you realize that... Well, actually, no, they don't wake up Ventus right away. What happens is they get there, and then Vanitas comes, and he's like, I'm gonna get him and beat him up, and make him come back, and we'll be together again, and blah, blah, blah. And so then, Aqua fights him, and she gets beaten up, even though she's also a Keyblade Master. I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah.
And then Sora's like, oh no, things are bad, and I'm sad, and then Ventus is like, no, look, I need to wake up. You should wake me up. And he's like, but I don't have the power of waking. He's like, okay, you ready for this? Get your puke buckets ready. No, it's just sleeping. It's been sleeping inside you. And then Sora's like, oh, bro, really? Oh, dude, sorry. Here, wake up. And I'm sorry, like, that moment could have been really cool, but I was sitting there thinking, wait, no. It's been sleeping the whole time? I played this whole game looking for the power of waking, and it's been sleeping inside Sora the whole time. I didn't have to do any of that garbage. And so, like, I was sitting there, like, throwing my head back in rage, like, no, are you freaking serious? You literally just said that. And then he was like, okay, here, wake up. And then, Ventus beats up Vanitas, and I don't remember exactly how it all goes down, but he goes away. And then, like, after all this time, I mean, like, Ventus has been stored in Sora's heart for, like, 10 years. And he just barely got revived and, reunited with his friend who's also been spending the past 10 years in like, the realm of darkness. And then they're just like, hey, what's up? Practically. It's just like, Aqua's like, good morning, Ventus. He's like, good morning. And it's like, what are you going to say next? Time to go to school.
Time to go to school now.
This is just... Anyway... So, then we have, like, I'm still sitting here thinking, okay, this is disgusting, but maybe this still can be saved. This whole time, remember, I am a true Kingdom Hearts faithful. This whole time, I was giving it every possible chance to get better. I was thinking, no, it's going to happen now. It's going to happen now. After this, this is where the game is going to get really good. And so we get to the end. There's a super, it felt like they fast-forwarded the important parts of the story. We've spent this whole game going in slow molasses motion through garbage, and then it's like, oh, look, everyone's here. We're all here. And there's like this one really kind of fun scene when Axel is like making fun of how there's way too many characters now and like kind of breaking the fourth wall in kind of a fun way. Only we find out that then Axel, who has been spending all this time training with Kairi, has somehow become more useless instead of less. And Kairi is bad as ever. Anyway, so they form up the 7 and they're like, yeah, we're here. Let's go get them. And I'm starting to realize, no, they really are just going to have a very quick conclusion. They're going to be like, yep, we're going to go and beat them up now. And that's the end of the game. And so I was already like, okay, well, they can't fix this game for me, but maybe the conclusion will still tie up some important things. So they go to the Keyblade Graveyard. And they go there, and then they find out, actually, we're screwed. And then everyone dies. Like, literally, they all die. Like, that shocked me. I'm like, oh, wait. Okay, maybe this is where it gets good. Like, I didn't
that is so sad that we have to say that about Kingdom Hearts.
I know.
Because I was saying that to myself all the time, too. I was like, maybe it's going to get good. Maybe it's going to get good. Maybe I'm going to like this. Have I been liking my experience? Yeah, the gameplay's been pretty fun. Kind of. It's
hand
easy.
wavy.
I was playing it on normal mode, so I was like, this isn't that hard. And, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'll stop it.
No.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
We spent this whole time trying to give it a
So
benefit of the
sad.
doubt and being like, this is going to get good, right? So they all die, and I'm thinking, wow. No, okay, that's a different direction than I was expecting them to take. That could be exciting. So they go to the final world, and Sora has to piece himself back together in kind of an interesting little way. And then he has to go save all his friends. And I'm thinking, okay, this is how they're going to extend the story. We're going to go back through all the worlds, maybe in the Realm of Darkness version of each one, if there's such a thing. And then, like, this back half of the game is going to be where they're just going to bring out all the story stops. And so I was getting really excited. Only then I find out that you literally just save your friends, boom, 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 all at once. Like there's not
true.
a proper ceremony to it. It's just like, this guy took my friends.
Help now.
So now I'm just gonna go beat them up 7 times, and then they're all back. Wow, hey, that was convenient. Okay, let's just go straight back to Keyblade Graveyard, even though we don't have a better plan. Then they go back there, right? And the big Heartless Storm returns, and fortunately they're just convenient that that kid from Union Cross shows up. I don't even know that's the one I didn't get into. Like, don't try to do story through cell phone games. I'm sorry, mobile junk. No. So anyway, apparently he has some importance, and he's like, I will save you. And then everyone is, all of a sudden, there's this whole QuickTime event where you're just seeing, like, the usernames of probably a whole bunch of people who have actually really played the phone game. And then you just mash the button while they just break the Heartless. And I'm sitting here thinking, this could be really epic, except that I'm just staring at a screen, watching him do the same thing over and over again while I mash a button. And so that wasn't very impressive, but okay, problem solved, I guess. And so then there's like still a lot of trouble. I don't remember all of the details. I'm skimming over some stuff here, but I do remember that then Yensid comes and he like makes a path through the Heartless, and he's like, go, and they go, and they go to the place, I forget what it's called, that Xehanort makes, and they go and they start doing their battles with the Organization 13. So, again, here was another place where I was like, okay, maybe it'll get good here. And this was probably one of the most offensive parts of the game for me, is that, these conflicts we've been waiting for the entire time, this whole time, ever since essentially Chain of Memories, when we were first introduced to Organization 13. And we knew that this was building up to this moment. And then it just turns out that it's a bunch of, like, battles against... I felt like it was just a playground fight. Like, you go in, you reunite with some of your friends, their AI are terrible and they get killed every 2 seconds, unless, of course, it's Roxas, and then for some reason he's in deity mode. And also, why does he still have 2 Keyblades? I'm sorry, one of those was Sora's. So, actually, this is where...
this is where it gets complicated.
Like, I'm not one of those that is, like, super steeped into the really deep lore, so I can't say for sure, like, well, this is why this happened, and here's where this Keyblade come from, and blah, blah, blah. All I know is that, for some reason, Roxas has 2 Keyblades because one of them is from someone else. So it's not like his Keyblade. It's one that he's somehow borrowing, and I want to say it's Sora's, but for those of you who are super fans who know that detail, put it in the comments so I can be reminded which one it is. But all I know is he shouldn't have it now, and for some reason he still does. So universe-breaking stuff just for the sake of fan service is what I get from that. Everyone wants to see him come back with 2 Keyblades because that's really iconic, but it breaks the universe because he shouldn't have the other one anymore. So anyway, that battle, he was actually really quite useful. And all the rest, all these Keyblade masters were, maybe not all, okay, they weren't all Keyblade masters, but a whole bunch of people that are supposed to be really powerful, except for Kairi, sorry. She just has never been very powerful, but Aqua and Ventus and all the others, they should be really valuable, and they're just useless. And so in the end, it just comes down to you fighting against these Organization 13 members, and then ending up, just being in the end, it's more just and now you're all better. These really painful scenes afterward. You beat the crap out of them, and they're like, darn it, I guess I was never really into this anyway. And you're just sitting there thinking, well, why did you do this in the first place then? And I don't know. You'd expect, when it's the last entry in the series and should be, tying everything together and making sense of everything. Instead, it's just...
The motives were, I don't know.
I don't know.
And I'm so sorry.
And I'm sad. And Sora's like, well, it's okay. You'll be recompleted and we'll be friends. We're like, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do another fair fight next time we meet.
Yeah. And so, you go through all these... Yeah. Bye. Bye, Felicia.
Yep.
And so you go through all these battles, and they're all super anticlimactic. And then you get to the end where you're fighting against the 3, I guess you might call them the true Xehanorts, Xehanort, Master Xehanort, and then you have Ansem and Xemnas. And you go through this battle, which, by the way, was bullcrap in critical mode, because really all it was is these guys flying around, they can stagger you out of anything. And I mean, it was difficult, but difficult to a degree where it just wasn't fun. You just spent the whole time rolling, pretty much just dodge rolling the whole time. Sorry, my son is being really cute at the moment. Dodge rolling the whole time, and then occasionally getting some hits in. Anyway, it was badly designed. So you get to the end of this, and then Master Xehanort is still well, you guys just played into my plan because now I can make the Keyblade. And they're like, no, we won't let you. And then he's like, oh yeah, well, hey, look, I have Kairi. Boop, and then she's dead. And then
that's true.
And then they're like, no, dang it. And then he's like, yeah, I have the Keyblade now. And so
it's true though. It's sad, but the way you're saying it is so true.
So then they're like, oh shoot, what do we do? The darkness is raining from the sky and it's really sad. And they're like, well, let's hang out here for a moment and just chat calmly about all this. And while he just hangs out waiting for us. And then Sora's like, oh, go get him. And so then they go apparently take him to... I don't remember, again, this is another one of those sections where my memory is failing me on the exact details. But they somehow take him to Scala ad Caelum. And this is another opportunity where they completely failed to do something exciting with it. This world that we didn't ever know existed, but apparently was the true world way back when. And, we're seeing, I don't know if it's just a vision of it or something, but, they could have done a whole lot more to make that exciting and interesting. But instead, it's just you go in, you take a little quick look around, you get beaten up by these guys wearing the horse head masks or whatever. And then, you fight Xehanort, and that was another bullcrap battle. And, so you go through this final battle, you get through that whole sequence, and then in the end, when you're expecting final closure, this was the last time that I gave this game a chance. I was like, okay, well, they're going to somehow tie it up together here. We get to the end, you finish him off, and then he just reveals himself to in the most anticlimactic and completely like what's the word I'm looking for? Like they just took all the guts out of the story with this one sequence where they were just like, oh, you find out that he was actually just some sort of misguided good guy who wanted to like bring back the original world and it was a good thing, right? And then somehow Ericus like voips out of Terra? I can't remember who it was. And he's like, no, my friend, remember that I beat you in chess. And he's like, oh yeah, you did beat me in chess. I give up. And that's pretty much how it goes. Like, I mean, it was. I understand it was supposed to be a metaphor for the conflict that the series captured throughout the entire thing, but, you know, for it to just come down to, oh, I was misguided. And he's like, yeah, you were. And he's like, okay, I'll stop. After all this time, after all the horrible things he did and all this stuff that we're expecting to have a better tie-in together, it's in the end, it's just like, okay, all right, I give. And then he goes to wherever, like heaven, I guess, or whatever it is in the Kingdom Hearts world, some sort of world where their spirits go, because apparently they floated off into the happy land. Anyway, and then in the end, Sora's like, cool, all right, let me just fix this with the Keyblade, boop, boop, boop. And then they're like, yay, we're done. And then, so like, they didn't answer so many questions there. So many questions were not answered.
Like I said.
Like, and so many of the characters that we expected to have epic moments afterward. Like, instead, they were just all, like, lame, like, they were lame versions of themselves. Like, Lee and Axel, I'm sorry, Lee and Axel, they're the same person. Axel, I should call him, and Kyrie just get their butts handed to him. Axel gets his Keyblade broke. You know, like all this stuff where we expect these characters to come back doing cool things, and they don't. And you know, so that part is all ruined for us. And then we end up finding out that the story, they came together at the end and pretty much said, turns out the final twist is that none of the story mattered. It was all a big chess game. You just needed to tell him to stop playing. So he did. So, you know, Sora fixes it, and, like, technically he saves the whole universe in doing so that's a big deal, but they don't even manage to convey that importance. They're just like, hey, it's all done. And then he's like...
thanks for playing, guys.
And then he's like, but wait, guys, Kyrie's still gone. And they're like, yeah, she's dead. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go find her. So then he goes, and, like, I don't know what happens to him. And everyone's like, cool, we're all happy. We're back on Destiny Islands, and we're all being happy friends. And then... the end. Like, until you get to the secret ending where you find out, like, all of that side story from the mobile game and, like, all of the extra stuff that they should have tied into Kingdom Hearts 3. They should have tied all of this stuff into Kingdom Hearts 3 instead of making it a game about filler. Like, they could have spent some really good time explaining the stuff about the black box, which they only really just referenced randomly at random times in the game. Also, who the heck Lushu is, and the Masters, and the Master of Masters, like all of this stuff that they really could have and should have put in Kingdom Hearts 3 in place of all that 30 hours of filler that we just played through.
Yep.
And, you know, we get to the end and you find out, whoa, actually Zigbar has, you know, been doing whatever, and he's actually Lushu, and look, here's the black box, and here's all the Masters, and they're back, and we have no idea what he's up to. And apparently, like, as all I know is that he's been on some sort of mission for the Master of Masters, and that special no-name Keyblade is how he's seeing everything, and he's using Lushu to view the world so he can do something. I don't know.
And then it ends. And then we're like, what the heck?
That would have been a really good time to give us some of that background, because, I mean, they spent a lot of the game doing that, you know, so give us the most important background. They didn't.
Nope.
So that's the ending. And then the secret ending, if you got it, shows Sora in Yozora's world. So, I'm sorry, hold on. Like, we're continuing the story by breaking the fourth wall so hard that he goes inside the video game that is inside the video game. And for some reason, Riku's there too. And and we don't know what's going on. Cool! So in other words, what you did is you just took this convoluted story that you should have tied up into a pretty little bow like we were expecting you to, and then you decided, and then you essentially said, actually, this story kind of sucks, so we're just going to throw it out and go in an even more convoluted direction, because it wasn't already bad enough. And the end. And that's all we get. That is all we get. So, as I said, biggest problem for me was the story, and I've made my case pretty clear. It was a major disappointment.
Yes.
When it should have been like a game that was oozing with reasonable, good story the whole time, and it never did. And then didn't even conclude properly.
Nope.
Like, I'm sorry. I know that they're continuing the series. I know that this is just the end of the Dark Seeker saga. And I get that, and I was expecting that there was going to be some sort of continuation. But, like, I was expecting a better conclusion to the Dark Seeker saga, along with a feed-in, a tie-in to the next one, and they didn't. So now I'm sitting here thinking, well, I'm not even excited for the next chapter, because what the heck is even going on? And you didn't even provide closure for the 17 years I put into this story.
Yep.
So
Very disappointing.
my biggest my biggest thing against the game is that I was waiting for this for a long time, and I was expecting it, as it should have been, to make it all worth it, and it didn't, and it did it in a it failed spectacularly. But like that's just one side of the coin. Here's the other thing. They stepped backward in so many other different ways, and I'm going to try and keep this a little bit more truncated, because there's less to say, first of all, and also I mean, like, a lot of you might disagree, and this is more just like my preference. But I said earlier that I felt like the best evolution of the Kingdom Hearts combat formula was found in the Command Deck system, which was present in Birth by Sleep, Dream Drop Distance, and Recoded. And I feel like those were the games with the best combat, because it was just such a good system. Like, the ways you could synthesize interesting abilities that were just out of the norm of, like, Thunder, Thundara, Thundaga, like, all these interesting, like, my favorite ones come out of Recoded, which, again, I said, as I indicated, has a completely throwaway story, but in my opinion has the best battle system of all of the Kingdom Hearts games. Fight me. I swear. I can give you a reason why, plenty of reasons why. But I just felt like that, one of the biggest reasons is that they really gave us a lot of interesting ways to accessorize your abilities. Like, there was some of the coolest abilities in that game, like Exo Spark, Judgment Triad, Triple Pursuit. These are all incredible abilities that you got to discover organically and just make the game all the better for it. And then, of course, Kingdom Hearts 3 comes along. It steps away from the superior Command Deck system, goes back to the incredibly inferior Kingdom Hearts 2 system, which was, I will say, good in its time. It was a good step forward in some ways. In other ways, I didn't like it. I thought it was better in some ways with the magic system, how it was, I felt like it was easier to, there was more spells you could cast. I didn't feel like it went away as quickly when you were casting spells, but at the same time, the recharge period was never a good idea. Like, the original, you got magic back by striking the enemies, and I felt like that should have stuck. Like, I don't know. I didn't like that, but, that's just preference here. But, they went back to that system, which I think is far inferior. Far inferior. And then, to add insult to injury, they took out almost all of the good spells, took it down to the very basics: fire, ice, thunder, cure, water. Water was a new one, completely unnecessary because we already have ice. What am I missing? Like,
I think that's it.
There's
I think you're right.
one more, arrow.
Okay.
Arrow, and I think that might be it.
I remember thinking it wasn't a lot of elemental powers.
They took most of the abilities away and then added in water.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting here like, why? Why did we not only go backwards in terms of battle system evolutions, and then just take away even more of our options? So, like, that was already something that drove me insane. Like, I was already offended when I found out that there was not going to be a command deck. So then they did that. And then they added all of this ridiculous filler. Like, attractions were the worst thing that could have happened to the battle system in this game.
Yeah.
The only reason that didn't drive me nuts is I was playing on critical mode where I could turn the blasted things off. And I did. Off. Get out of my face.
Yeah,
because
they're so annoying.
They were the win button.
You can't like choose which attack or command you did either.
What?
It all happened in what?
You can.
You can't.
You press L2.
I lied. I didn't know that. So
At least I said the same thing.
I had to push through to get to what I wanted to do because it's not. At least I didn't think it was clear.
Well, they didn't do a good job of explaining that.
No.
Like, Lisa went through the whole game thinking she couldn't cycle, and then I'm like, no, you press L2, and then she sent me a text with a bunch of angry faces. I'm like,
Do you know how many bosses I've died from because I can't get to the right one that I want to use?
Right. But, I mean, attractions were essentially a lame wooden button. So, you know, that was a problem. I'm glad I could get rid of those. I felt like the grand magic was a cool idea. And the form changes, I was excited about the form changes. I thought that was going to be a cool thing, but I felt like it was not, in the end, it wasn't super well executed. And there, like, that could be a whole other conversation I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of. But, like, there was some cool ideas that they had, and I just feel like they took away too many of the good evolutions that had already happened throughout the 17 years of the series to put in these new ones that were untried, untested, and it turned out to be just mediocre in my mind. And again, you know, like I say, there was some cool things to it, but like in a way, it also seemed like they were kind of trying to channel the command deck through the use of grand magic and form changes and stuff, but it was just a shadow of the good system that the other was. So, you know, they stepped away from good systems in gameplay, and they stuffed it with a whole bunch of spectacle. You know, I mean, it can't be denied that this game looks great. Like, you know, all the abilities are, you know, they look spectacular, but that's all they are. They're just, in my mind, they're just a bunch of exciting fluff. And I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel like that kind of encapsulates this whole game, is that here we were waiting 13 years from the last numbered entry in the series to, you know, for something that was supposed to tie it all together. And in the end, it really was just a whole bunch of fluff. And ultimately that's why I found Kingdom Hearts 3 to be such a disappointing experience. It should have been so much more, and with all the development cycle they had for making it absolutely, I mean, there's no reason that they couldn't have made it what it should have been, and they didn't. And so ultimately, Kingdom Hearts 3 is probably the most disappointing game ever made for me, ever.
Yeek. That's pretty bad.
And you know what? There was some good things about it. I played the whole game through. I enjoyed it enough to do that much. But considering what it could have and should have been, it is the most disappointing thing I've ever played. So, anyway, that kind of all ties it up. Is that as a super fan, I just felt like I wasn't rewarded for the time I put into it, and so those are my thoughts. Anyway, give your comments, like or dislike as you choose. You know, that's the whole point, is recognizing that with these episodes we are being opinionated because we've got opinions and so do you. So share your thoughts, why you might agree or disagree, and let us know if you like this. I think this will be a fun way to kind of share some of our thoughts on and our enthusiasm for games. And I assure you that
we might have missed.
That we might have missed, yeah.
And that aren't, well, yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that may not be associated with Nintendo as well, like this one was.
Yeah.
Just games in general.
We did this one first because I just really needed to get this one off my chest. Like, I've already made it clear. I love Kingdom Hearts, and Kingdom Hearts broke my heart.
Yes. Nice. I like it.
So
you heard it here first.
But I assure you that in the future, like, you know, we're not all negative. I hope you've picked up on that already with the other
we're
videos
mostly
we've
positive,
made.
actually.
And there are plenty of other games that we can talk about that we will have all sorts of very good things to say about. And but we wanted to try this out and see how it goes. And it's a lot of fun to talk about why we're passionate about a game. So
Yes.
we'll go for a more positive one next time. But anyway, guys. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for watching, guys.
Yeah.
Give us a like and a comment, or a dislike and a comment.
As long as it leads into a subscribe.
That's right. As long as it leads to a subscription.
Or not. Do what you want, but you get bonus points if you do.
Yes, you do. Thank you so much for listening. You heard it here first.
And until next time,
keep it nerdy.